So after loving Evil Dead 2013 and Evil Dead Rise, the big question on my mind is, can Evil Dead Burn keep that streak alive? And the answer is absolutely. The story follows a grieving widow who seeks comfort with her in-laws after the death of her husband, but as members of the family begin transforming into Deadites, she realizes that the vows that they made each other in life don't exactly end with death. So the first thing I have to talk about here is the camera work. The camera work in this movie is next level, and it all serves a purpose. It's creative, it's fun, it's unique, but it comes at the right time. Every single camera movement in this movie existed to make the horror more intense, right? There were scenes where I was really freaked out at whatever was on screen. I was really engaged. I was locked into what they were showing us, and the camera would do some really unique thing where it kind of snapped you out of what you were looking at, only to make you re-engage with it and get you freaked out all over again, all in the span of like 2 seconds. It was a really cool trick I've never seen before. And that same level of creativity carries over into the tension that this movie has, because this movie's tension is off the charts. There's a scene pretty early on in the movie where everyone's at the dinner table and there's one character in particular acting a little different, acting a little sus, and we as the audience know that they're gonna do something pretty quick here, but we just don't know when. So you're just sitting there waiting. You think, okay, now. Nope. Then maybe now, still nothing, and then it finally happens. The movie just constantly delays the payoff, but I'll tell you what, every time that there is a delay in the payoff is always worth it. And you can absolutely feel the director Sébastien Vaniček's French influence all across this movie. This movie is mean. And I'm not talking about Martyrs mean, but this movie is absolutely brutal. Some of the violent scenes have a slow build up, kind of like the tension we were talking about earlier, and then the violence just kicks off and it doesn't stop. There are other times where the violence is already going, blood is going everywhere, and then something happens in the middle of that to snap you out of it, kind of like the camera work we were talking about earlier, where it takes you out of it only to re-engage with you a second later and you're already freaked out all over again. Basically what I'm trying to say is that this movie never gives you a chance to breathe. Once it starts, it does not let up at all. And as brutal as this movie is, it's also beautiful. It honestly reminds me of something that Robert Eggers would shoot, just with gallons of Evil Dead blood thrown all over it. It's gross, it's disgusting, and you cannot look away. And another thing that I really dug about this movie is the overall feel of this, okay? This is a movie coming after Evil Dead 2013, Evil Dead Rise, and now we're at Evil Dead Burn. Somehow, all three of these movies consistently feel like the same universe, right? Different directors, different styles, and they all bring their uniqueness to each of their movies, but they all feel like the same franchise, and I just know how hard that can be when you bring different creative minds to these things. So it's a really impressive thing to see that we are 3 movies in and they all feel consistently the same but unique to themselves. So yeah, I love this movie from top to bottom, but there are a few things in here that just did not work for me, and unfortunately the biggest thing is the horror tropes that show itself again and again and again. You know what I'm talking about, when a character finally gets the upper hand, it looks like they're gonna make it, and then something happens where they have to run for their life yet again. This happens so many times in this movie where by the end of it I was just rolling my eyes and I expected it at that point. And I know that this has to happen in a horror movie because it has to keep the story going, it has to keep showing us more gruesome stuff, and I love that. I want that to happen. But this time it just felt a little bit overdone. And of course the big showdown at the end, I just wish that they used a little bit less CGI, where I feel like if they used makeup or practical effects there, I think it would have been more believable, a little bit more engaging. So it didn't look bad. The CGI actually looked really good, but still, when I know that they could do something a little different to make it look a little bit more real, I wish they went that way. Once again, not a bad part about the movie, it's just something that kind of stuck with me at the end. So Evil Dead Burn is brutal, it's tense, it's beautifully shot, and the camera work is some of the best that I've seen in a horror movie in years. The violence is relentless, and somehow this franchise continues to evolve even without losing what made people fall in love with it in the first place. This is going to be a lot of people's favorite Evil Dead movie, and for me, sitting alongside Evil Dead 2013, this is right at the tippy top of my list. But let me know what you thought about Evil Dead Burn in the comments. Is it one of your favorites in the franchise? How would you rank them? Let me know. Thanks for watching. I'm going to catch you in the next video.